In this video, we're going to take a look at using the rubrics built into Talon as part of the evaluation process. We will also review some of the settings in the Talon Gradebook. For competency-based courses, there are some unique settings that have been utilized in order to give students the best possible experience when submitting assessments, getting feedback, and monitoring progress. It is important for facilitators to understand how the rubrics have been structured and how the gradebook has been set up in order to avoid confusion and maintain clear communication with students throughout the feedback cycle. Let's start by taking a look at the rubric tool in Talon. To access the rubrics that have been built for your course, go to the Course Admin tool. Then click on Rubrics. The rubrics available in your course will be listed. Let's take a look at an example rubric. In this example, note that the rating scale or levels of the rubric appear at the top of each column. The components for completing the assessment or criteria appear at the start of each row. Typically, the criteria correspond to the elements of the directions for the assessment. Each cell in the rubric is referred to as a descriptor. The descriptors describe the expectations associated with each proficiency level for each criterion. Underneath the main body of the rubric is a space where you will assign the overall rating for the assessment. Since most rubrics used in competency-based courses are no-points rubrics, you will have to manually select the overall score based on the individual ratings for the criteria. When we dig into the gradebook here in a few moments, we'll demonstrate how to use the rubrics as part of the evaluation process. Now, let's go to the Grades tool and check out a few features. Under the Schemes tab, you will notice that a CBE grade scheme has been created for your course and is marked as the default grade scheme. This grade scheme has been built so that students will see proficiency ratings and corresponding colors rather than letter grades and points. Notice that a proficient rating corresponds to a score ranging from 80% to 89%, and an exceeds rating corresponds to a score of 90% or higher. Approaching, which is 60% to 79%, needs work, which is 10% to 59%, and no evidence, which is 0% to 9%, are ratings that can also be assigned based on the score that is entered in the gradebook. As a reminder, students are made aware of the fact that submitted work must be at least proficient in order to be complete, and all assessments must be at the proficient level in order to pass the class. Students are often told to look for green in the gradebook to know if the submission is complete. Now, let's take a look at how to evaluate a submission. Again, let's go to the Grades tool. Under the Enter Grades tab, look for the submission icon to appear if new submissions have occurred. Usually, an orange dot will appear next to the icon to indicate that the submission is new. Click on the icon to access the submission. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will find links to the documents that have been uploaded by the student. If you click on the link, the document will load in the left-hand space for you to view. Notice that a toolbar appears above the document. One tool that I want to point out in particular is the Annotation tool. This tool allows you to mark up the document in a variety of ways. You can draw and/or highlight portions of the document. You can add sticky notes with comments to the document. You can also add text boxes as well as a few basic shapes. The annotation feature allows you to provide inline markups and feedback directly on the submitted document. It can be really helpful when providing students with feedback on their work. On the right-hand side of the screen, you will find several things. The first thing is the description of the assignment. It is the same description that students see in the content area of the course. Below the description, you will find the tools for evaluating the assessment. A link to the rubric is present. Clicking on this link will open up the dynamic rubric for you to use. We'll come back to that in a moment. Next, you will find a space to enter the score for the assignment. Finally, there is a space to enter overall feedback on the assessment. Let's go through the process of evaluating a submission. Start by opening up the rubric. Do this by clicking on the rubric link. The rubric will open up in a new window, and this version of the rubric is clickable. To assign a rating for a particular criterion, simply click on the descriptor. The box will become highlighted and a check mark will appear in the lower right-hand corner. After selecting the proficiency rating, you can click on Add Feedback. This link will open up a text box for writing feedback specific to that criterion. Type in as much or as little feedback as necessary. Then repeat this process for all of the criteria found in the rubric. Once you have finished selecting the individual ratings and entering in the specific feedback, go to the bottom of the rubric and find the overall scores section. Based on the individual ratings in the rubric, you will have to choose an overall rating for the submission. Click on the appropriate box. The box will highlight and a check mark will appear. Remember that typically, all criteria need to be either proficient or exceeds in order for the assessment to be complete. Once you are finished filling out the rubric, click on the Close button to return to the gradebook. The next step is to assign a score to the submission. The score should be a value that will correspond to the overall rating that was assigned in the rubric. Once again, students will not actually see the points that are assigned, but you are still required to enter points in order to get the gradebook to work properly. Next, enter any overall feedback that you want to provide on the submission. Again, you can type in as much or as little as you deem necessary. It is usually a good idea to include reference to the rubric in the overall feedback so that students are reminded to look at the specific comments that you provided on the criteria. Once you are finished, the last step is to click the Publish button at the bottom of the screen. Clicking on this button will complete the evaluation and will make the feedback and overall rating visible to the student. To return to the gradebook, X out of the evaluation window. When you return to the gradebook, you may have to refresh the page to see the updated rating. Hopefully this video has been helpful in demonstrating the use of the rubric tool and the process of evaluating assessments in Talon for competency-based courses. If you have any questions or run into any issues while you are facilitating your course, always remember that you can reach out to the curriculum development team or to any instructional designer for help. Best of luck as you facilitate your course and evaluate student work.